Welcome to Soluble, America's Political Central. Well, all the counting is pretty much over. We've had time to sit back and digest the results. Look at voting in among particular demographics, percentages. You know, checking turnout, and we did pretty good, I must say. We held the line, so to speak. The red wave that we heard so much about, that was touted so much from Republicans, it was actually a red wave, but it wasn't the type of wave that occurs with the rising of the tide. It was actually a wave, red wave, literally wave goodbye. Um, most if not all the MAGA candidates went down. Well, most of them, not all of them. I think there was a few that squeaked by, but for the most part, the MAGA candidates were sent packing, and pretty much all the candidates that the former president put up to run for office failed. And thank God that the sanity of democracy stood up and stopped this ridiculous show of unqualified candidates. Now, we still got one lingering factor here that will dip into later on in the broadcast, and coming up to the runoff in Georgia with the clown show that is Herschel Walker. And we say that with a lot of reluctance, a lot of dread, a lot of regret, but at Soluble, as I said, we're trying to solve. We're out to solve any conflict, any rough waters, to try to make them smooth sailing. So if the truth hurts, you'll be in pain. So as I said, the clown show that is Herschel Walker is one of the last deciding factors, with the runoff coming up in Georgia on December 6th. So to my fellow Georgians, we'll let common sense prevail, and we have to go out one more time, just one more time, for my home state of Georgia to put the Senate firmly in the hands of Democrats, where they'll not only have the Senate majority, but they'll have majority in committee also. So it's really important that we get out and deal with this one last issue with this runoff. Back to the night of the midterms, the midterm elections here. As I said, we thank God that the sanity of democracy held up. A lot of us were on edge. We wasn't really sure where the American people were going to go. We know that threat to democracy was higher on their voter agenda, their concern as voters. Threats to democracy was high up on the radar, and it looks like they came out and voted like it was. So, with that being said, we can't safely say that MAGA is a dying thing. Is a dying, thing of the past, because the former president has already come out and announced, since the midterms, since a slate of losing candidates, I might add, a slate of losing candidates. He's lost in 2018. He's lost in 2020. And here it is in 2022, he's lost again. The brand is faded. It's tarnished. Americans see now what Make America Great Again really stands for, and they want no part of it. But yet the president has come out, the former president has come out and announced that he will be casting his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election. So, that's why we're here. As I said before, when the former president came into office, there was really an upheaval in politics. A threat to democracy all the way around the board. A threat to set so-called minorities back, decades in the political mainstream here in America, and just, in American society in general. So Soluble came about as a necessity to be a countermeasure, a pushback, if you will. You have a lot of the former president's supporters who begin to support him because they thought that, they liked the way he spoke his mind, the way he, expressed himself and he said what was on his mind. So here we are at Soluble as a pushback from the left. Very necessary. And, as a countermeasure, as I said, to the rhetoric coming from the rogue right, which is and or was the Republican Party. So, we look at, voter levels, as I said, dynamics and everything. And, one thing that stood out here at Soluble with us was the black voter level of support fell between 4 and 7%, on the Democratic side. And to each his own, first of all, to each his own. But it looks like we went from, a 90-something percentile down to a high 80-something percentile as far as the Democratic vote. Also, the difference in the midterms between 2018 and 2022, we were at 82%, black voter turnout. And in 2022, we fell to 68% of, black voter turnout. Ages 18 to 44. In 2018, they were 75% of the black vote for the Democratic ticket. And in 2022, the ages 18 to 44 fell to 54%. So that has fallen off somewhat. Now, as I said, to each his own. But our position here at Soluble firmly is that, the Republican Party is the party of the new Republican Party that started way back, as a party of Strom Thurmond. When Harry Truman, got ready to integrate the military, then that began what is today's Republican Party, the party of Strom Thurmond. So, to Negro voters, as I said, to each his own, but you have the House now as a Republican voter. You have a majority in the House, and you have a new majority leader, a Republican majority leader in the House. And we see that one of the first things they want to start doing, as we said before the midterm, no legislation. One of the first things they want to start to do is investigate. And Hunter Biden is at the top of the list. So, to Negro voters, young and old, who have switched over, went Republican this time around, how is this going to help you? How is this going to help you? We're at a dire, a pivotal moment in history now when it comes to politics in America. And the way politics have tried to set, so-called minorities back, Negroes in particular. And this is all on the Republican Party. So, to my fellow Americans, Negroes in particular, you vote Republican, our numbers fall off on the Democratic side, and you lean to the right, Republican. And with the House majority, the first thing they want to do is investigate Hunter Biden. So, I challenge, to come on. You can come on, you can comment, however you want to get back at Soluble. But I'm challenging right now Republican voters in America, Negroes in particular. What is investigating Hunter Biden going to do for your political benefit? How is that helping your cause when it comes to lowering the cost of prescription drugs? The grocery prices are out of control. And you let the Republicans tell it before the midterms, this was all on their radar. These were the things that they complained about. Oh, the prices are sky high. Gas is out of control. President Biden's inflation. And now the midterms have come and gone. You have the majority in the House. And the first thing you want to do is no pocketbook issues, no legislation when it comes to the economy, gun control, climate change. Nothing. The first thing that a House majority with the Republicans being the majority leader, want to do is investigate Hunter Biden. And we know this is politics, folks. We know this is politics. The former president gave them so many things to investigate. So many things. And they sat on their hands. They buried their heads in the sand. And, every other month, every other 6 months, the former president was giving Republicans something that should have raised red flags for them to look into. They had 2 chances to rightfully impeach him. So we know this is politics. And, that's what is happening with Republicans. So once again, to each his own, as I said, but to Negro voters who are championing Republican causes, this benefits you none. This benefits the so-called minority in America none. To investigate Hunter Biden, it does nothing to afford you a better cost of living, to make you feel more secure when you go out in public from being attacked, by gun violence. It's off the rails in America. We just had an attack here the past weekend in Colorado. But none of the above. As I said, out of all the things that's going on in the country, the temperature's turned up on so many levels. The first thing that a House majority can do, a Republican House majority wants to do, is investigate Hunter Biden. So, as I said, to each his own, but, don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. We've seen this movie before in Benghazi, in the Rose Law Firm, in Whitewater. We've seen this before. It's only there. It only exists right now to tear down Joe Biden leading up to the 2024 elections. So, you voted in a majority in the House. And for the next 2 years, instead of legislating on your behalf, they feel like there is their duty and their obligation to tear down their political opponent so that they may have a chance of gaining access to the White House. I mean, don't get me wrong. It comes with the territory. It comes with politics. Campaigning against your opponents. Trying to, dig up some kind of dirt somewhat, if you will, against your opponent. But we're nowhere close to 2024 yet. Can we get out of the gate, fresh out of the midterms with a majority? Could we get some kind of legislation out of all the things that are going on in the country? Out of all the things, the hot button issues that are going on in the country. As I said, you have to look out for the smoke and mirrors. Before the midterm, it was Joe Biden's inflation. We got to do something about it. It's high prices at the pump. It's people are paying more for groceries, for eggs, for meat. It's outrageous. And now they have a majority and they want to investigate Hunter Biden. You got to be kidding me. It's stranger than fiction, folks. Except this is nonfiction. And it's real important. So, as I said, that's the reason that Soluble exists. We're really, honestly and truly looking for the solution. And we feel like to be informative from the Soluble perspective to the American people will go a long ways in, helping to allow us back to a smooth political process by telling the truth, shaming the devil, putting it out there for all to see and telling it like it is. If we happen to get any candidate, any office holder on the show, on the broadcast, we're going to hold their feet to the fire. We're not going to let them spin. We're not going to let them deflect from direct questions that are being asked in their answering. And so, we're here. The midterms are over, and this is what's going on. We're getting ready to, with a House majority on the right, we're getting ready to come out and investigate. But there's nothing there. There's nothing there. It's only to play with your mind. It's only to try whatever smear tactics they can to tear down the president. the current sitting president. Can you imagine Hunter Biden being a clear and present danger, a threat to national security? This is ludicrous. And it's politics. It's playing politics at its finest. Because as I said, the former president gave Republicans, gave them everything to investigate. Put it right there in their face. And there was no investigations. None. Zilch. Zero. But, as I said, we held the line, and, we just have to stay vigilant now, because we see that the Republicans will lie, cheat, and steal to get their way in politics. The Supreme Court is tainted with such lying, cheating, and stealing. We went along with Mitch McConnell and, thought that the Republicans would do what they was asking of us as Democrats to do, as far as, wait till after the election and let the American people decide who the next Supreme Court justice would be. But no, one of President Biden's picks is stolen right now. Amy Coney Barrett, an illegitimate pick for the Supreme Court. That should have been President Biden's pick, based on what Senator McConnell introduced to the American people and asked us to do. So, as I said, they'll lie, cheat, and steal. And if we don't get more active in politics, my fellow Americans, Negroes in particular, we have to, take this political juggernaut by the horns, so to speak, by the throat, so to speak, and get in the process more than ever now. Before, the 45th president there, we voted in President Obama, a black president, a president of Negro descent, for all of America. And, we thought we had turned the corner. We thought we had arrived at a critical juncture in America where we was beginning to turn the corner and look past race. And nope, what happens? The clock is actually turned back. After Obama does his 8 years and leaves office, then we have the former president, 45, Donald J. Trump, to turn back the clock from where, we as aspiring Negroes in America thought that the direction that we thought we were headed. So, it's time for pushback more than ever. If, the American people have liked what they've heard, those on the right, who have voted for the former president, if they was attracted because of, they liked the way he spoke his mind, then, you haven't seen anything yet. Because we're here at Soluble, we're going to practice freedom of speech like, you've never seen or heard before. Because we're at a critical juncture. This is something that I definitely don't want my children, my daughter, to take hold of and have to battle. So we have to speak up now more than ever. After Obama, where we thought we had turned the corner, we thought we had moved past race, so to speak, with the first African-American president, and lo and behold, they threw it back in our face. So, we're here. God willing, we're here to stay. We're here to speak truth to power and just be an enlightenment, if you will. But, it's going to take courage on behalf of that high 80 percentile now, 88, somewhere in the 88 percentile now, falling from the 90-something percentile of Negro voters. We're going to have to get involved, get engaged. It's worth it, because you can protest all you want to, as we've seen, the whole melting pot do, and, Black Lives Matter protested, Negroes in particular protested, in the summer of 2020, during the previous administration, once, the president's rhetoric and actions turned up the racial tension in America. You protested. You You came out and demonstrated. But the most important thing that you can do in this country to permanently put racism, discrimination, or any other sick and tired of being sick and tired of that you deal with in America, the only way to put them behind you is to vote. Is to vote. We see this because of the way things turned up when the former president lost. And Republicans began to come out and try to gerrymander, redistrict more than ever. So, they don't care about you protesting. They don't care about you demonstrating or anything of the sort like that when you're unhappy about something that's going on in America. What scares the hell out of them and makes them sit up and take notice of what's going on, or take notice and consideration of your plight, is for you to cast a vote. That's where your power truly lies, at the voting booth. Now, as I said, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. You protest, you march until your feet are hurting, your feet are bleeding, your feet are sore. They have calluses, they have webs. Nothing is more effective than the vote. So our position here at Soluble for our fellow Americans, Negroes in particular, is to come out in large numbers with the vote. Rock the vote like never before. Every election cycle. We see that now after January 6th. That's what they fear. That's what they're afraid of. So they're going to try and come out, Republican voters will try to come out and intimidate you, try to scare you, try to lie to you and trick you, try to take away, early voting, try to reduce the number of ballot boxes, try to relocate the ballot boxes to the point where they're farther away, where you have to drive farther to drop your ballot off. They're going to try to do everything they can to make it difficult for you to vote because they know that's where your power's at. So now the question is, do you know it? Do you recognize it? And as I said, you can quote me on it and you can act upon it if you so choose. I would strongly advise that you do. If you are a Negro in America and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of racist behavior, discriminatory behavior in the workplace, in the housing market, when you go to a restaurant, anytime you go out in public, anywhere in particular, anytime you're barbecuing at the park. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of this racist, discriminatory behavior in America, the vote is where it begins to end. It begins to end at the voting booth. So, if you don't vote, then, of course, you get what you get. You get what looks like a majority rule that's actually not. But it is there, rearing its ugly head as a majority because you're not voting. So with that high 80 percentile that we have left, we want to push it back up to 90. But with that high 80 percentile that we have left of Negro voters in particular voting Democratic, it's no good if we're only having a 30% turnout or 40% turnout. If we're 87, 88% voting Democratic, then we need an 88% turnout. That's the way to rid yourselves of it. That headache that is racism. That everlasting thorn in your side that is discrimination. This is the way to get rid of it, is the vote. It's right in front of you. So, going forward, if you're complaining, if you're griping about, things that are going on in America that you feel like are unfair, or you feel like you're being treated some kind of way because of your race, then, we want to know if you voted going forward. And, if you haven't voted, then, what are you complaining for? You've lost the ground to complain. You're saying you may as well be saying continue to discriminate against me. You may as well be saying continue to be racist towards me. Continue this racist society. Let it grow around me. If you don't vote, that's what you're figuratively saying. Now, as I said, we fell off slightly. The level of support fell between 4 and 7%. So with that 4 to 7% percentile, that's what you have to Negro voters in particular right now that left the Democratic Party and went to the Republican side. That's what you have now, investigations. You have a party that is embracing the Great Replacement theory. When the mass shooting happened in Buffalo this past summer, you didn't see no strong condemnation from the right. You didn't see no strong level of support for common sense gun legislation. You didn't see the Republicans come out and strongly denounce the actions of this young shooter, pushing conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement. You didn't see that. So this is the party that you're voting for, because when they don't come out and denounce it, when they don't come out and speak against it, then they actually support it. That's the political climate we're in now. That's where it's at. If the Republicans don't come out and denounce any talk of the Great Replacement, then they may as well support it. That's where it's at. That's the critical juncture we're at. If you're not coming out and speaking out strongly against it, then you're for it. And we just don't see it. It's happened time and time again with the previous administration. It's happened time and time again. And the Republicans don't come out and strongly denounce it as they would, a lack of mistrust or a level of intolerance for Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Ilhan Omar, the squad. They come out and denounce these people hard and adamantly and fervently. They come out and speak out again. Oh, they're bad for America. Thus and such and thus and such. You see the Great Replacement theory being floated on the right, perhaps in QAnon circles, Proud Boy circles, Oath Keeper circles, and nothing. You get nothing from the right to come out and strongly denounce it, to say we're firmly against this. So, with this black level of support that's fell off between 4 and 7% of the Negro vote from Democrat to Republican, that's something for you to think about, because there's no way to identify you as anything but a Negro when these racist, these hateful acts occur. These acts of hatred based on a false narrative of Great Replacement. There's nothing to protect you. You don't walk around saying, I vote Republican. You don't have a shirt on 24/7 that says I vote Republican. I'm one of you guys. All that, these people that are filled with hate and racial animosity, all they see is the color of your skin. But nevertheless, that's where you cast your vote. Wake up, people. Wake up. The Democratic Party has put a Negro in the Oval Office as Commander-in-Chief. The Democratic Party has put a Negro female in the Vice President office. The Democratic Party has put so-called minorities on the Supreme Court, Puerto Rican, African American. All this by the Democratic Party. It took the Democratic Party, it took a Democrat president to go out and track down and kill America's arch enemy, which was Osama bin Laden. The president who was in office when the attacks occurred said he don't even much think about him too much more nowadays. And went after Saddam because he tried to kill his father. So, you do the math. You figure it out. Is 2 and 2 adding up to 4 here? But the bottom line is, you got the House majority and you got investigations. And that's really going to help your cause. To Negro voters in particular who have drifted away from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. And the truth be told, here it's soluble. We try to tell it like it is in order to solve it. The truth be told, yes, there are things that are in the Democratic Party that collide with my faith, collide with, my religious beliefs. But, sadly, the federal government has to protect even, things like a woman's right to choose. You see now in Republican hands, it may be considered to be, a good thing if they would make an exception for rape and incest, but they won't even do that. So when it comes to a woman's right to choose, gender identity politics, these are things that, clash with our faith here at Soluble, our religious beliefs. But at the state level, these people will be persecuted. We already see what happened in Colorado just this past weekend. So, I get it. We have a party that embraces all Americans from all walks of life to protect them, not to encourage it, not to encourage this behavior or support it, but to protect them. We pray for these people, that they will do the right thing, that benefits humanity. But that's our perspective here at Soluble. That's our perspective. At the end of the day, as I said, the federal government feels the need to step in as an umbrella of protection for harm that would come to these people who have, issues with gender. They want to change. They want to be trans. The LGBTQ community. We don't condone it here at Soluble, but the people need protection. They're Americans. So until they can figure it out, at that state level, we definitely can't depend on it there. So the federal government feels the need to, step in along with the state or as a big brother watching the state to make sure that these people are protected, in the LGBTQ community. And as I said, I get it. But, what else is it in the Democrat Party that, we have to, grapple with, if you will, to decide what's best, which party works best for us as Americans, as working class Americans, as wealthy Americans for that matter. A Wall Street system, a capital market system, a lobbyist system, trading firms, they'll run wild. We see what happened with the Great Recession of 2008, 2007. We see how, things begin to crash and our financial markets begin to fail because we have Republican leadership that didn't care to take a hands-on approach. Leave it up to the states. Leave it up to the companies to police themselves. And everybody got greedy at the watering trough. They didn't know how to back away. And that's what you have right now here today. So, as I said, to each his own. We're going to see where these investigations lead. We can already presume, based on Benghazi, based on, Whitewater, the Rose Law Firm, that it's just going to be more waste of the American taxpayers' dollars. To think that if the Republicans are going to do any investigation, that they would put Hunter Biden first over the former president. Now you think about that for a few minutes. You think about that for a few minutes. The Republicans are going to investigate. They feel like it's more important to investigate Hunter than it is to investigate the former president. The threat lies with Hunter Biden. Who is he? Who is he? He's a child of a sitting president right now. And he's a convenient target, if you will. Where there's nothing there, he's still a convenient target to start out, to begin to tear down and smear the sitting president, to damage him, to make him damaged goods for 2024. If the Republicans really care about the country and the shape we're in coming out of a pandemic, high prices, climate change, affecting crops in the field, affecting farmers' ability to get their crops to the market, uprooting people's lives, tearing up their homes, gun violence. You would think, what? But yet, and still, come January 2023, Hunter Biden, come on down. You're the next contestant on these investigations to nowhere. Come on down, though. So, here we go. We'll see. We here at Soluble know there's no there. And we will push back every chance we get because we know that it's politics, plain and simple. It's politics, plain and simple. Now it's time for investigation. What kind of party is this to lead when they don't have the courage to clean up their own house, to clean up their own mess with the former president who they put on the ticket back in 2015, 2016. They don't have the courage to speak out against him. And it needs to be done. The former president is the type of president, we've never encountered this before in a sitting president in our lifetime. When we look back in history before we even got here, we've never seen this from a president. And Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are the only two Republicans who really have the courage to stand up. The rest of the Republican Party, nothing. They're no-shows. Nothing. They let the president run amok, and they hope that he will just go away. He will just stop. He will just cut it out. He will just, maybe we can talk to Ivanka, and she can talk to him. Or Jared, or Don Jr. And let's talk to one of them and see if they can get him to calm down. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. And the Republicans don't have the courage to stand up to the former president, a mess they created. Now, the former president came out, a couple days after the midterm and announced that he was running. Not a Republican lawmaker nowhere in the crowd. Nowhere in the crowd was one Republican lawmaker. We saw the likes of Roger Stone, the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell, maybe. I don't even think Rudy was there. Ivanka just straight out admitted she's not getting into politics no more. She's done. She's had a belly full. Who can blame her? Don Jr., he just happened to be inconveniently out somewhere hunting, on a hunt. So he can't be there for the big announcement. No courage. No one has the courage to stand up and tell the former president that he shouldn't be running, that his time has passed, his star has dimmed. Nowhere in the crowd. And yet this party is the party that wants to lead America when they don't have the courage to clean up their own mess. The former president never changed. He never transformed into anything presidential. In the 4 years he was there. And they all came out supporting him. They all came out supporting him. Chris Christie taking trips to the White House, right and left, looking for a cabinet position that he never got. But taking trips to the White House as an advisor, going to sit down and talk to the president. Where is he now? James Comey, with his 11th hour, more emails that he found right before the election. Found more emails right there at the 11th hour when people were in the voting booth getting ready to cast their vote. Where is he now? Paul Ryan. They're all running to hide. But yet, they want you, the American people, to believe that they're the best thing for the country. That they know what's best for the country. And, they got the right stuff to put the country back on track. So, it's right there in the playbook. And you see it now. Here we go. Classic bait and switch. They bait you into believing that they're concerned about the price of food, the price of gas, inflation, the war in Ukraine. Joe Biden's inflation. Okay, you got a majority now, and all you want to do is investigate Hunter Biden. Classic bait and switch. There you have it, folks. There you have it. And so, even though we went, the midterms have come and gone, we've made a statement. The blue line held. We held the line. We lost some seats. We lost the House. We won some governorships. We held the Senate. And so we did good, but there's always room for improvement. And we have to stay vigilant. We have to stay ready to cast a ballot. Because, as I said, the former president has announced that he's running again for a third time. And there are no Republicans out front on behalf of the American people to speak truth to power, to say, no, he should not run. They all go to a Republican conference over the weekend. Nikki Haley, Sununu, Pompeo, Hogan, Chris Christie. But they don't have the courage to actually, stand up and just adamantly say flat out, this president, the former president is no longer qualified. He's unfit for office. Simple words, a simple statement. Why is it that Republicans can only speak truth to power, come out adamantly opposed to something like this if the person only has a D beside their name? If there's a D beside their name, standing for Democrat, they come out. They come out long and hard. They're looking for a podium when they come out of session to make a statement to the American people, to tell them how bad this person is or how bad they're doing. But yet, on their own flawed candidate, on a candidate who has brought down the Republican Party, who's taking, the shine, the glow away from the Republican Party that they once had. These are not Ronald Reagan Republicans. The sitting president already told you on the campaign trail right before the midterm, this is not your grandfather's Republican Party. It is. It's a different cat. It's the truth. And they have a chance for redemption. Now more than ever, they have a chance to redeem themselves because the former president is coming out and announcing a third run for the White House after he's caused the insurrection. Now you think about that. You picture that. Had the Republicans come out and impeached him during the second impeachment, wouldn't have been qualified to run for office. He couldn't run for office. So where do they stand? Where do they stand? Where does the moral compass stop? Right now it's spinning. Where does it stop? Because you have a party here. They can't impeach him the second time around to make it where he's no longer qualified to hold or run for public office. They can't impeach him. And now they can't come out and support him when he holds a press conference or when he holds a rally or a conference or whatever to announce that he's running for a third term. They're nowhere in the audience. Is this man above the law? And he pushes the limit. He pushes the limit. If he has classified documents in Mar-a-Lago, who owned the right? Who in the Republican Party? This is a matter of national security. This is a clear and present danger to be playing fast and loose with classified material at a private residence where anybody can get their hands on them. This is a clear and present danger. But who on the right would come out and say anything? The FBI had to act. They had to act. And this is what you, as the American people, must understand. The American voter. Where does the party stand? Can any Republican voter come out and state it based on the things that we've just discussed here? You can't impeach him. You can't come out and support him for a third run. Where do you stand? They don't say anything. They do nothing. They're the party of no. And this is cause and effect. Plain and simple. This is cause and effect. And they say nothing about the cause. They don't attack the cause. They don't come out and denounce or speak against the cause. They only want to attack the effect. The president came into office with the cause of MAGA. And the effect it had on the American people was to turn the racial tension up. It turned the temperature of racial tension up. The MAGA cause had this effect on the American people. Cause and effect. And here's the party that sponsored him, that supported him, that voted him in. They voted in this cause. And when they seen the negative effect, the terrible effect, the violent effect that it had on America and the American people, they come out and said nothing. Nothing about the cause, only about the effect. Oh, this Black Lives Matter because they're radical. They're the woke mob. This is cause and effect, people. If you're going to attack the effect, you must attack the cause also. Because without the cause, there would be no effect. But nothing. But nothing. Nothing when it comes to the cause. Nothing. Let the cause have its way. Let the cause have its way. Attack the effect. This is totally backwards. This is cowardice. And as I said, the only two Republicans that we've seen with the backbone to stand up for the Constitution, for American principles, for the principles of democracy, is Congresswoman Cheney and Congressman Kinzinger. We applaud them. We salute you for standing up for the truth. And, if we could vote 1,000 different times as American citizens, we go and we stand in line for you tens of thousands of times just to get you back in office because we need more like you. God knows we do. But here we are. As I said, the cause and effect. The cause runs rampant, unchecked. The cause can do no wrong. But let's attack. Let's go after the effect. Let's attack the effect. Let's demagogue the effect every chance we get. This is the Republican Party of today. This is the Republican Party of the day. Spineless party that has failed from grace. We no longer recognize them as the Ronald Reagan Republicans of yesterday. When even if we didn't agree with them, they weren't so radical. They were willing to compromise after, putting up staunch negotiations for their cause, for the issues that they championed. They were willing to work to find a compromise, those Ronald Reagan Republicans of yesterday. But here we are in the age of MAGA. And the Republicans expect the American people to put them in charge when they can't even stand up to a clear and present danger affecting this country and still trying to affect this country right now today. The president comes out after a slate of losing candidates. The president comes out and announces his presidency. Like I said, no lawmakers in the crowd. Cell phones in the air. This looks like something out of the second coming of the Third Reich. That's what it really looks like. And the former president, doesn't care about the country. He likes the power that the Oval Office affords him. He likes the power because it gets him, in the conversation with big foreign money spenders in Saudi Arabia, Istanbul, Jordan. He likes the power that he can court while in the Oval Office. But caring about the country, he could care less. And it's evident because of the lack of respect that he has for the Constitution. The lack of respect that he has for institutional norms. He does something crooked, illegal, something unethical, something very unpresidential. And the first thing that he does is comes out and says, oh, that's a witch hunt. He comes out and says it's a witch hunt. And this is a man who loves his country. I mean, you don't love it so much that you tear it down. You don't love it so much that when you can't get your way in it, then, you don't care if the whole thing is just blown up. You can't love it then. If you love it, you would try to uphold it. You would try to protect it. You would try to, treat democracy as fragile as you would a dozen of eggs. The president cares nothing about the country. And the Republicans are starting to see that now. But as I said, they couldn't impeach him the second time around, so he wouldn't be qualified to run for office again. And now they can't even come out to his rallies, to his press conferences to announce a third run. They can't impeach him. They can't come out and support him. And they can't come out on the record and adamantly denounce him. They can't come out and staunchly say this former president is no longer fit to serve. It's not hard to say. It wouldn't be hard to say if there was a D beside his name. So why is it hard to say since there's an R beside his name? When one is putting country above party. And that's just the thing. If they were putting country above party, they could come out and say it. They would have been come out and said it. And when there's somebody, an office holder or a candidate or whatever that has a D beside their name, and they come out and criticize, put it down, say they're bad ideas for the country, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just politics. Because we've already seen somebody in their own party do worse, and they said nothing. So we see it now. It's right there. It's right there in your face. that it's not about country. It's about party. It's about party first. And you never would have, thought this of a Ronald Reagan Republican. They were looking to make that America that shiny city on the hill. Not anymore. Not anymore. They'll promote anybody. After putting the former president on the ticket, he ran, he won, he occupied the Oval Office for 4 years, and they did nothing as he tore the country down. As the pandemic came upon us and became more and more severe, and the president was telling the American people to try hydrochloroquine, maybe inject yourself with bleach, bringing voodoo doctors out to say there's a cure, we found a cure. And they say nothing. At a time when America really needed intelligent leadership. At a time when, we were dealing with something that we were very uncertain about. And we needed good leadership, a good sense of direction. The former president was all over the place. And the only thing that the Republicans can do, the only thing that they can do, in spite of all this, was attack Dr. Fauci. Somebody who's been on the front lines of American health for years, fighting to save lives, working overtime, looking for cures, doing research to try to keep the American people healthy. That's what he spent his whole career doing. Not being a real estate cheat or playing fast and loose with the American banking system, filing bankruptcies. He sincerely worked for the American people when it comes to our health and well-being. But that's all the Republicans could do was attack him. And the president was all over the place with coronavirus, hydrochloroquine. And the president's words have power. He says it and people are going to do it. They're going to try it. But is this good advice? Is this good leadership? Have you done your research before you pass this on to the American people as a cure for the coronavirus? No, not at all. Not at all. So as I said, the former president is all over the place, was all over the place. Nothing. There was a lot of things that could have been investigated, should have been investigated on behalf of the sanctity of our institutions here in the country. But no, nothing. But best believe now, lo and behold, it's time to investigate Hunter Biden. It's time for investigations now. Not because of some threat to democracy that Hunter may present. That's something that Hunter has done may present. That somebody that Hunter is affiliated with may present. This is politics, plain and simple, ladies and gentlemen. This is politics and a way to go after a sitting president to make him less electable in 2024. That's the hope. That's the pursuit here. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. We've seen it before, as I said. We've seen this waste of the American time, the American taxpayers' money. We've seen it before. And here we are again. And it's going to be up to us, the American voters, to keep coming out, to stay vigilant, to look and see at what's going on, to continue to be stewardships for a good democracy, a strong democracy with strong institutions, and not having candidates lurking in the shadows, candidates whose time has passed, still trying to run for office to tear down these institutional norms, to attack these institutional norms, and then turn around and fundraise off of them. This is someone who loves their country. This is baloney. And the Republicans cannot even call it baloney. Plain and simple. They can't come out for a lack of courage. And now's the time for a profile in courage more than ever. And you've only seen it twice in Congresswoman Cheney and Congressman Kinzinger. Where are the rest of them? Why only two out of such a large number? Why only two out of such a large body? Lack of courage, folks. Lack of courage. So how can you lead? How can you be elected to lead when you don't even have the courage to stand up to wrongdoings that are going on in your own party, with your own candidates, with the people that you vote for? But yet, Hunter Biden is the problem, if you can believe that. We thank you for joining us tonight here at Soluble. We don't want to put a bad taste in your mouth when it comes to the upcoming holiday this Thursday. We know that everybody's getting ready for tasty turkey, delicious ham, dressing, greens, string bean casseroles, et cetera, et cetera. And we don't want to put a bad taste here in your mouth here right before the holidays, but we have to tell it like it is. We're looking for that controlling majority in the Senate. And we have a runoff in Georgia that we have to talk about. So, going forward, we're going to discuss that a little more in detail tomorrow, putting out, one more broadcast, possibly two, before the holiday to keep you, the American people, informed. Because, if there's a problem going on in American politics, we here at Soluble are looking to present the facts, negotiate, discuss, opinionate with the American people in order to find a solution. Something that our fellow Republicans have refused to do. In the last 4 to 6 years, they've morphed into something that we don't recognize as a competing political party with America's best interests in mind. So, therefore, Soluble has come forward as a countermeasure, as a pushback, if you will, to all the lies, all the ineptitude, and just the blatant hypocrisy that comes from the Republican Party. So stay tuned. We'll join you again later this week. As I said, putting out another podcast dealing with the runoff in Georgia and just current political happenings to keep you informed, to keep you open-minded about the importance of playing a role in American politics. Because as I said, for Negroes in America who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, the answer is rocking the vote each and every time in American politics. That is going to be a lot more effective than protesting, marching, demonstrating, or anything that you can think of. Voting candidates out who don't have the future of America's best interest in mind. To tell it like it is, to let the chips fall where they may, and continue to be a functioning and progressing melting pot that is envied the world over. So we thank you for joining us tonight. This is Soluble signing off. Stay tuned, stay informed. God bless, and good night. Thank you.